Imagine stepping back in time. Picture a bustling soda fountain, gleaming chrome reflecting the vibrant colors of countless glass bottles. The air is thick with the sweet scent of syrups, the rhythmic hiss of carbonation a constant, cheerful soundtrack to the happy chatter of patrons. This isn't some far-off fantasy. This was the reality for generations, a vibrant scene that perfectly captured the spirit of soda pop in its prime. Now, consider the stark contrast. You're grabbing a can of soda from a vending machine, a solitary act of convenience. That's the story we're exploring today, the epic journey of a fizzy drink that conquered the world, a drink that moved from luxurious treat to everyday staple, a drink that indelibly shaped global culture. This isn't just a story about sugar and bubbles, it's a tale of innovation, entrepreneurship, and the remarkable power of marketing. It's about how a seemingly simple beverage became entwined with American identity, then spread globally, morphing and adapting along the way, always maintaining that iconic fizz. We'll travel from the earliest concoctions to the modern-day behemoth that is the soda industry, examining everything from its social and economic influences to the intriguing science behind that captivating carbonation. Prepare yourselves for a bubbly trip through history, one that will leave you with a fresh perspective on the beverage you probably just enjoyed.
I'm already feeling bubbly.
I bet you are. But before we dive into the fizzy depths of its history, let's acknowledge just how ubiquitous this drink has become. Consider the sheer range of flavors, the vast global reach, the impact on both economy and culture. Its evolution is intrinsically linked to technological advancements, marketing ingenuity, and shifting social trends. We'll see how its story reveals a surprisingly intricate reflection of human progress, from early medicinal uses to global branding and beyond. It's truly astonishing. And from humble beginnings as something altogether different, well, that's where our real journey begins. The very first concoctions weren't designed for the mass appeal or the thirst-quenching comfort they eventually provided, but from humble roots did something so widespread spring up. So prepare yourselves for a remarkable discovery. The path from medicine to pure delight awaits. So, picture this. Instead of a refreshing gulp on a hot summer day, the earliest forms of soda were considered medicine. Yes, you heard that right. Our fizzy friend started its life not as a delightful treat, but as a medicinal tonic. We're talking late 18th century Europe, a time when carbonated water, initially discovered accidentally by Joseph Priestley, was believed to possess curative properties. Priestley, a renowned chemist, famously described his accidental discovery, creating carbonated water using a process that involved forcing carbon dioxide gas into water under pressure, effectively creating the artificial mineral water which began to attract medical interest for a while. These carbonated waters, often sourced from natural springs already believed to possess healing qualities, were already thought to relieve digestive problems, among other ailments, and artificial versions quickly spread across the European continent, especially appealing as a solution in place of unsafe or insufficient fresh water supplies. It quickly gained traction amongst doctors and physicians in this era due to its perceived curative traits. It wasn't exactly delicious then, mind you, but definitely deemed to be better than some other water sources. The very beginnings are indeed rather surprising, aren't they? Think about it. The drink you associate with youthful energy started its life as something designed to relieve stomach upset or other ailments. How things change, right? But then, someone, or several someones, working in a multitude of experiments, inevitably had a brilliant idea. Let's add some flavor. This marked a crucial transition in the story of soda. Suddenly, this bubbly water started morphing from its humble medical roots and toward the beginning of something genuinely delicious, though still in experimental form for the most part at that point. Imagine the earliest iterations, sweeteners like sugar or honey for a more naturally sweetened result. It certainly took away some of that bitterness associated with early forms, which then were often augmented by extracts of fruits and herbs, giving them an enhanced experience with more robust palates. Many of those initial additions still carry similar flavor profiles as certain current drinks to this day, which goes to show a fascinating evolution in these tastes across the centuries. What inventive and delicious processes began to take root here? Early recipes often contained other interesting additives, things like syrups, for example, though each mixture produced quite varying outcomes. A trial-and-error experimental process is often overlooked as the genesis of soda's story as is known today, but that process holds much of what we take for granted today as foundational principles and developments.
I can only imagine the variations.
Precisely, and as the concoctions became more palatable, a new industry was burgeoning, leading to our next important point, the rise of the soda fountain. These weren't just places to quench your thirst. They quickly became community gathering places, vibrant social hubs. The effervescent charm wasn't just coming from the soda. It was an experience of shared consumption, an element we have already largely lost in our modern age's obsession with solitary consumerism. Entrepreneurs seized this opportunity, developing sophisticated machines, introducing improved flavors, crafting elaborate brands to capture a particular market, which created new and interesting possibilities for a rising global economic movement around this burgeoning sector. The possibilities were almost limitless. Think about those iconic soda fountains, the gleaming chrome, the clinking glasses, each one representing a small slice of social and industrial history and an increasingly commercial success story that's absolutely gripping when taken from beginning to end. We have all had the visual of the older establishments in mind since our previous discussions, haven't we? And then, a curious confluence of events, the American Civil War. While not necessarily a cause of its invention in a technical sense, it did end up significantly furthering its use in America. The widespread contamination of water supplies due to poor sanitation in war camps gave increased momentum for adoption for the drink. During a time with poor sanitary and hygiene situations, carbonated soda offered a safer alternative to regular drinking water for soldiers and civilians alike. This, among other things, allowed the rapid spread and wider cultural significance within the populace during that tumultuous period. That period cemented soda's place in American culture. The relative ease and speed of the manufacture process relative to acquiring more pure natural water sources further pushed demand alongside improving quality control. That concludes our journey to explore early stages of its invention and proliferation. It truly started life very differently from the fizzy joy of today's reality, but such beginnings still made a difference nonetheless. But the story doesn't end there. Next time, we delve into the rise of bottled soda, industrialization and expansion, and how the transformation from fountain fixture to ubiquitous beverage changed the world. Stay bubbly. So, we've journeyed from medicinal concoctions to the bustling soda fountains of the late 19th century, but the real explosion of soda pop's popularity didn't truly begin until it could be easily transported and enjoyed beyond the confines of a specific establishment. That, my friends, is the story of bottling. The ability to bottle soda was revolutionary. It's the equivalent of finding a way to capture the experience of an era and ship it across town and the entire globe to be appreciated at your leisure. Let's dive into 3.1. Bottling technology. Before mass production became possible, several significant breakthroughs needed to happen. Think of early attempts: glass bottles that could withstand pressure, airtight seals to prevent leakage, and finally and most importantly a viable system for reliably adding carbonation after being filled. These issues posed significant manufacturing challenges. Early bottling was a messy, inconsistent affair, with far less impressive results to speak of when compared to that in later times, and experiments produced varied outcomes over decades worth of study into making consistent outcomes and producing bottles which consistently provided such drink. But eventually, innovations such as the crown cap, that familiar, toothed metal cap, allowed for secure and easy sealing. These early solutions made all the difference, enabling mass production, an efficiency which enabled the commercial scale expansion for soda bottling as seen towards the end of the 19th and throughout the early to mid-20th centuries, which were absolutely vital for modern commercial adoption to begin and establish precedents among the newer manufacturers and the already successful giants. That development drastically improved mass distribution, turning the once local treat into a readily available commodity, the kind easily sent out to corner stores and drugstores. This development made a big difference.
So essentially, the right bottle and cap made all the difference?
Exactly. It's like inventing a key for a complex mechanism, unlocking vast opportunities within seconds. Without efficient bottling techniques and the proper quality components being developed over the previous half-century, that expansion and accessibility may not have seen anywhere near the growth levels that it actually went through across that span. And speaking of unlocking opportunities, that brings us to 3.2, Coca-Cola and Pepsi, a tale of two titans. These behemoths didn't just stumble into success. Their rise to dominance was a masterclass in branding and marketing genius alongside well-timed innovation and market analysis. Both came onto the scene as an entirely unique product that was still distinct compared to other alternatives out there for this emerging industry as it entered the commercial stage for better, though some would not survive. Consider their initial marketing campaigns. How carefully crafted they were. Both companies spent considerable energy, effort, and money early to appeal directly and efficiently toward desired customers. We are not just discussing quality alone when we study their methods. Their advertising cleverly appealed directly to an ideal vision for consumer experience for decades later across global cultures, cementing and further emphasizing already entrenched popularity across various nations. Both created an early dominance which largely persists into modern-day iterations, and those initial strategies really laid the groundwork for their continued success. Their carefully constructed identities which transcended that generation's consumers is nothing short of remarkable when you examine its longevity and ongoing global adoption. Their impact remains undeniable in contemporary global commercial contexts for numerous reasons beyond simple product effectiveness alone. Their innovations not only reflected the evolution of packaging and accessibility, but the overall changes within the world's economic and social climates across this pivotal century plus since both have come on the market initially. The ability for Coca-Cola to consistently reinforce itself not just across markets but cultures, the very definition of a worldwide icon which shows no sign of letting up. That image still exists in people's minds today due in no small part to consistent clever approaches for that period through its continuing decades since creation, showing off great success and longevity from the past century through today's commercialized marketplaces. As the current flagship, this branding and quality was replicated by similar products and even competing ones who wished to have the same form of success, which is remarkable to speak of when talking about their consistent achievements in their sectors. Its lasting legacy persists to today despite several major economic impacts from natural disaster to significant world wars throughout. Now, let's touch on 3.3. The impact of Prohibition and the Great Depression. This period had a surprisingly beneficial effect on the soda industry. With the banning of alcohol, many looked for a substitute. Soda perfectly filled that void, with brands developing the sophisticated flavors and marketing techniques already developed, offering alternative thirst-quenching products ready and prepared as alcohol substitutes. Their clever innovations took on even further momentum during times that otherwise negatively impacted global growth as an entirely separate business from pre-Prohibition era. That's truly a remarkable bit of adaptability, and in those challenging times these non-alcoholic drinks benefited greatly alongside these improved quality manufacturing techniques, improving accessibility among the mass market. The continued focus and innovation only provided new successes further throughout this challenging timeframe due to consistent effort on expanding already established businesses by creating new ways for consistent improvement on pre-existing systems with better outcomes due to prior existing experimentation and manufacturing innovations. Finally, 3.4. The emergence of other major brands. Coca-Cola and Pepsi weren't alone. Dr. Pepper, 7-Up, and countless regional favorites emerged, adding to the burgeoning diversity of choice within this growing market across national lines, as seen here with many already regionally based preferences seen. Each had unique origin stories and brand identities, often reflecting local tastes and preferences, showcasing unique market differences, offering regional differences to that ever-expanding list. Some emphasized natural ingredients, others were known for particular creative flavor combinations that may not hold any significance outside those regions that popularized the brands, demonstrating diverse preferences around this already ever-expanding global preference across borders despite several cultural differences that have been highlighted over the span of its creation until now. This growth showcased a diversification in styles for a single common thread within commercial spaces globally. Each added its own unique flavor into this emerging drink, contributing a large expansion over its total global commercial relevance. It expanded considerably by appealing and reaching several demographics around the world through consistently relevant production choices. These are all small segments to be considered, however, from the greater total, and so, the bottled soda's reign was secured, paving the way for its far-reaching cultural impact, the impact of which has affected society across the span of these multiple decades, as can be seen by observing today. However, that's not the only thing. Next, we'll explore how this sugary liquid became more than just a thirst quencher. it intertwined itself with many societal values that had formed alongside its introduction, and its social and global significance, from advertisements to its social role as a modern symbol. Next time, we examine soda pop's cultural impact beyond the drink. Stay tuned. So, we've charted the rise of soda from medicinal tonic to mass-produced beverage, a journey marked by innovation, entrepreneurship, and clever marketing. But the story doesn't end with bottling. Soda pop transcended its role as a simple drink. It became interwoven with the very fabric of American culture, and indeed, global culture, reflecting and shaping social norms, values, and even our collective memories. It's a fascinating aspect of its enduring legacy, the intangible cultural influence far outweighing the sugary fizz itself. Let's start with 4.1. Soda pop as a social phenomenon. Think about it. Soda wasn't just something you drank, it was part of experiences. It was inextricably linked to significant events, everything from baseball games to family picnics, from birthday parties to holiday gatherings. The drink, particularly certain key players within the marketplace, had an extremely significant hand in shaping perceptions surrounding particular kinds of event. Consider Coca-Cola's clever advertising linking its product to Santa Claus. And indeed those successful iterations still maintain some presence today through continuing market strategies across demographics worldwide, or its presence at specific events like sporting ones and cultural occurrences. It became part of a national narrative, subtly or boldly showcasing various ideal forms for such societal activities in a particular society or global locale. The company and its methods succeeded in maintaining high consumer preference over centuries largely through such consistency alone among its products. We can observe its social context very deeply and see how far-ranging such effects were throughout specific decades. Soda was often featured to embody positive feelings surrounding social participation at a number of moments throughout history. Now, let's shift gears to 4.2. Soda in advertising. Advertising isn't just about selling a product, it reflects societal values. Soda pop ads are a virtual time capsule of changing cultural mores and expectations within a specified generation. The way women were portrayed in those earlier ads, often as elegant figures, enjoying a soda while fulfilling some household-related function, or other very clearly established roles in family life, tell us a lot about expectations within particular generations that this practice is occurring. Consider earlier eras compared to advertisements from later decades. Such evolution displays considerable effort to adjust along with societal changes. Both reflect and are reflected through advertising strategies among soda. Early advertisements frequently emphasized a drink for adults, showing clearly a beverage that wasn't strictly reserved to certain younger demographics or specific genders at particular moments throughout those earlier eras, demonstrating significant progress across global eras within several societies for consumption as a whole. Early branding and marketing had remarkable staying power, showing remarkable strategies being undertaken from its initial conception through to continuing usage within modern products seen today across numerous global cultures that have absorbed soda consumption over the years, with many adapting already ingrained tastes. Later eras often sought out more directly modern values that targeted different market segments over older and established methods. A few consistent methods and brands still persist despite generational gaps throughout history, demonstrating such consistency has benefited them throughout their eras through better adoption rates and consumer recognition over many centuries and changing ideals among the population globally. Next up is 4.3. The soda fountain as a meeting place. Before television, the internet, and even the prevalence of widespread cars, many found gathering locations for those activities through different social environments at several specific points in history. These soda fountains, a bit of magic, they offered not just sugary drinks but a community hub that reflected that generation's collective life across numerous populations at multiple locations. The sheer range and variation is striking and speaks volumes toward their popularity. They quickly developed very positive reputations throughout society. Photos of these establishments, vibrant and buzzing with activity, from friendly chatter to intimate encounters, they transport us back to a time when soda pop formed part of something more considerable, reflecting community interactions for groups among that generation and era across numerous populations. They aren't just something for nostalgic recognition. It reveals a time in social history which was vital for many communities and often a centralized hub where most of a community's populations ended up frequenting those businesses regularly. soda was just a part of something more culturally relevant among multiple generations over many years before evolving and eventually transforming into what we recognize today as the soda industry among its consumers. Such detailed study is quite necessary to fully appreciate its relevance to how important these social hubs turned out to be to social interactions globally, even to the modern day in our contemporary markets. Lastly, in 4.4, soda and cinema. Soda pop often shows up on the silver screen and visual medium in multiple cultural products globally through a remarkable range of depictions reflecting not only public perception but a clever approach to advertisement throughout generations, and a fascinating evolving relationship within global marketplaces across multiple economies that aren't confined strictly to specific products. Visual products that were utilized demonstrated quite clever adaptations within these ads from those particular brands during periods of major shift in consumer tastes and technological innovations, among them of course visual ones among the products and techniques. It's part of movie scenes, TV commercials and a whole host of mediums. The visual depictions of specific scenes alone through video across such products highlight very important changes within society over these multiple decades since its creation. It isn't just the quality and flavor that persist in the modern day. Clever approaches and consistency within brand strategies throughout this product's range continues to prove very vital across a number of markets that are widely divergent on various factors across these many diverse cultures that use these goods regularly. This clever visual medium demonstrates its evolving status over time throughout various sectors which made such impact in cultural moments across specific events throughout history across generations. A powerful and consistently lasting brand and recognition which remains surprisingly durable despite so many innovations in commercial markets since its inception and continued production for nearly 2 centuries in the case of some of the longer-running products in such a sector. So, soda pop's legacy isn't just about the fizzy sweetness, it's about the enduring imprint on American, and indeed global, culture. From social gatherings to advertising campaigns, soda pop has consistently showcased society's values over generations, and that evolution remains relevant, even up until today. And speaking of global impact, our next topic takes us on a truly flavorful journey: the global soda phenomenon, international flavors and variations. Prepare your taste buds. So, we've explored soda pop's rise in America, its cultural impact, and its clever marketing. But the story doesn't end there. This fizzy beverage has truly become a global phenomenon, transcending borders and cultures, adapting and evolving in fascinating ways. It's a truly remarkable testament to the power of a seemingly simple drink and its surprising impact across several vastly diverse societies in numerous instances and cultures globally. Prepare yourselves for a truly worldwide tour. Next, we examine its impact beyond the domestic, with an expansive journey around global markets and their impact on commercial interests. First, let's delve into 5.1, soda's international expansion. The journey beyond America was swift, often fueled by the same forces that drove its success domestically: clever marketing, adaptable manufacturing techniques, and shrewd entrepreneurship. That key triad remains important among considerations within several countries' expansion of similar products despite divergent economies. American soda brands were eager to tap into international markets, often employing strategies to build relevance and recognizability, and in turn gain a stronger foothold, despite various cultural or linguistic obstacles faced in each nation respectively across dozens of territories within these different national areas and populations worldwide. But global expansion also showcased local adaptation. We begin to see remarkable cultural crossovers that took place due to this expansion, from specific product groups to regional products that emerged to compete or fill local needs more specifically. In many cases, this took shape around regionally relevant flavor profiles specific to cultures and traditions already established, which meant many local preferences that appealed strongly among many of the local consumers. Many local tastes emerged among regional populations across numerous markets to appeal towards local consumption specifically. Many regional brands also took root to fulfill those tastes locally across this very broad commercial sector globally, showcasing different specific approaches around certain tastes within regions and particular demographics, showing the sheer level of creativity used during product generation phases, which demonstrates some incredibly robust creativity within many regional niche markets across various nations throughout those generations globally, and how surprisingly localized such preferences difference among this industry truly is despite how commonplace soda consumption has become within such industries, this rapid evolution shows both globalization's far-reaching impacts across numerous locales while at the same time revealing specific preferences within several such niche groups, showcasing a truly global expansion within these regional variations of the central theme, offering tremendous diversity globally. This leads us perfectly to 5.2, the evolution of packaging. Early soda bottles were simple, often locally produced glass, a fact reflected by that industry's localized nature in multiple cases despite large global commercial influences by several foreign competitors. The bottles themselves evolved over time as methods changed across time and geographic locations due to several significant breakthroughs alongside differing commercial regulations, though we will explore the evolution later. These design developments and overall manufacturing improvements in a large portion of the world's supply lines and bottling plants provided access for consumers and producers for new means to develop newer and more creative packages despite certain obstacles found in a number of locations. As techniques improved, so too did both the quality of goods manufactured, as well as distribution models allowing new styles and approaches from previously more restricted methods, both of which heavily influence production capacity. This process wasn't solely limited towards production methodologies themselves. Distribution and shipment was itself massively impacted and changed across dozens of countries across multiple continents as transport developed at a staggering pace during certain moments within history, improving logistical concerns within certain locations while addressing some major economic hurdles. The emergence of plastic bottles, for example, revolutionized shipping and made both shipping easier to accommodate globally. Different materials and shapes catered to varying cultural aesthetics and consumer expectations throughout many years of innovation, demonstrating significant strides across global transport while simultaneously adapting regionally, providing locally targeted solutions despite several globally competitive factors around price, distribution and commercial competitiveness within these markets, showcasing a surprising balance between local adaptations while adhering toward existing larger consumer preferences from established global brands.
That's quite a range of change.
Absolutely. And finally, 5.3, unique regional flavors. Here, the story becomes truly diverse, often deeply rooted in regional culinary traditions across various global cuisines. Mango soda in India, ramyun in Japan, various herbal drinks that utilize very specific plants found in particular countries demonstrate considerable diversity within this popularized industry, showing global expansion alongside locally developed tastes despite many of those specific countries sharing consumption practices on many products within those marketplaces across numerous borders and nations worldwide. These examples showcase surprising overlaps, demonstrating the spread of flavor profile innovation among competitors, while others retain specific flavor profiles that don't gain a particularly large traction outside of local communities but remained highly successful due to this targeted approach and are thus significant aspects of particular locales despite very modest markets relative to larger global players such as Coca-Cola. These distinct flavors demonstrate the interplay between global influences and local ingenuity among certain industries. In effect, it maintains many strong brands within certain markets while also highlighting the spread of ideas from numerous competitors while simultaneously demonstrating surprisingly large overlap between some countries and specific drinks such as the utilization of popular herbs, demonstrating that global innovations frequently maintain local and regional cultural styles and tastes across widely varied culinary traditions across cultures globally, which is why we maintain this large range of specific options in each respective country and across national lines. Many of those highly unique local products still only remain localized to their original place of inception and seldom appear in any markets globally, showcasing diversity through targeted and hyper-specific products specifically focused at that single niche. And so, our journey around the globe highlights how the humble soda has become a global chameleon, reflecting and adapting to local cultures while simultaneously expanding its global recognition throughout the decades and showcasing numerous forms of expansion and creativity amongst local industries competing alongside global giants that showcase a surprising range of innovation globally, from simple fizzy treats to unique locally adapted tastes based heavily on locally significant botanical ingredients such as herbs or specific kinds of citrus, for example. It truly has grown incredibly varied across its spectrum, and the story doesn't stop there. Next, we examine a different area for this industry, the modern soda landscape, challenges and evolutions. Stay fizzy. So, we've journeyed from the medicinal origins of soda to its global domination, but the story is far from over. The modern soda landscape is a complex and dynamic one, facing unprecedented challenges and undergoing significant evolutions. It's a story of shifting consumer preferences, environmental concerns, and the rise of disruptive forces. Let's dive in. First, let's address the 6.1 health concerns and changing consumption habits. The link between regular soda consumption and health problems like obesity, diabetes, and tooth decay is now well established. This has sparked significant debate and led to a massive shift in consumer habits across numerous countries globally. Many are actively seeking healthier alternatives, from sparkling water to fruit-infused beverages. This isn't just about individual choices. It reflects a growing awareness of health risks associated with these products over prolonged use and over the very long term. The very foundations upon which this industry relies are facing unprecedented questioning and demands for transparency within these particular markets, alongside increased awareness surrounding long-term effects upon human biology. All of this creates very major new considerations that weren't present decades ago. Such issues remain paramount concerns for today and the future, forcing major change among large organizations already operating under existing business models. There's a noticeable push toward natural sweeteners and reduced sugar options as major producers strive to keep a foot in multiple expanding markets. Consumers are driving this demand, expecting greater transparency regarding the composition and long-term effects upon consumption amongst diverse populations, showing an emerging demand and expectations of greater openness from manufacturing corporations globally, which was not as apparent many decades before, where a simpler consumer demand existed relative to the present-day conditions, and how strongly various global organizations reacted, showing both successful as well as unsuccessful approaches in many competing businesses, particularly in larger markets worldwide. Next, let's examine 6.2 sustainability issues. The environmental impact of the soda industry is undeniable, from the vast amounts of water used in production to the energy-intensive manufacturing process, from the plastic waste generated by packaging, shipping to disposal. Every stage has an effect. Across each country, it poses major new ethical challenges for manufacturing firms. Efforts are being made towards more sustainable packaging, with increased usage of recycled materials and increased awareness within the workforce toward these concerns, alongside the development and introduction of newer plant-based options in production and consumption of existing packages. Efforts, however, still remain at a nascent stage across this sector globally, with major expansions underway. There is major development currently regarding how best to minimize plastic waste generation, though it represents ongoing hurdles across dozens of different jurisdictions worldwide. Across these various locales, several major jurisdictions have enforced significant legislative actions in attempts to better curb environmental harm caused by existing methods, showing such issues are impacting regulatory approaches as the overall cost from existing procedures across various businesses, governments, and non-governmental agencies are considered, showcasing increased global cooperation and regulatory efforts towards curbing some of this detrimental ecological damage to global ecosystems due to existing packaging processes among its manufacturers. Several multinational and localized corporations are working on new approaches. However, those issues will still need addressing to maintain long-term market participation from major players currently operational in this domain, showing very widespread cooperation despite some internal conflicts amongst differing methodologies across companies currently active in multiple continents.
It seems like a huge challenge to overcome.
It certainly is. But there is also 6.3, the rise of craft sodas and niche markets. In recent years, we've witnessed a counter-trend, the growth of small-batch, artisan soda producers that are filling these needs while satisfying a market for specialty drinks. Many cater to a thirst for unique flavors, high-quality ingredients, and innovative packaging, directly contrasting against certain brands who produce higher volume outputs at less specific focus on quality for broader audiences to consume. Contrasting these strategies provides major internal tension across various existing corporate groups, creating several points of innovation despite such competition, while emphasizing several major competitive issues from local against global markets and specific customer segment against others, showcasing very innovative product diversification for already globally available industries. These companies aren't trying to replace giants, though some would eventually become a globalized market force themselves. Their primary purpose is focusing towards niche products which often meet very specific consumer demand which previously hadn't been recognized or hadn't been accommodated by larger manufacturers. Such changes often present innovative ways for diversification among certain segments within consumer preferences despite limited scope globally, highlighting further innovation and market opportunity not easily capitalized by previously existing industry structures and operational businesses globally due to limited prior engagement and existing frameworks within major production centers worldwide, effectively establishing several competitive spaces that weren't there before, showcasing very innovative business styles adapting successfully to evolving local demands. Finally, and perhaps the most intriguing, is 6.4, the future of soda pop. Forecasting the future of any industry is always a challenge, though based upon our datasets and current conditions based upon numerous observations globally it seems reasonable to assume that we will continue seeing major shifts, not a singular dominant method which appears at present due to both consumer shifts alongside environmental considerations, showing it isn't solely a singular pressure for change from a singular influence. Those combined stresses are creating diverse effects in several sub-industries. The focus on health, sustainability and uniqueness appears most relevant when comparing modern consumer expectations in the present and attempting forecasts regarding likely changes within global production. It would appear that a balanced diversification and maintaining focus upon a number of niche products will continue providing considerable stability among most market segments among global markets, even among highly competitive firms competing against more widespread production businesses, demonstrating a wide selection among numerous companies operating within specific countries across continents. Despite globalization effects globally amongst other relevant markets, consumers will likely continue to favor companies showing consistent ethics, transparency and responsible business practices amongst consumer-facing businesses, something likely maintained and increased across both regional and larger globally recognized firms based upon observed data. Maintaining consumer trust through appropriate communications appears likely among most corporations wishing to maintain success across several global markets due to those increased consumer concerns. Overall, we anticipate the industry continuing toward a stronger and more ethical position than prior methods across this very complex market over future periods, though further analysis of more detailed information and greater datasets remain absolutely vital for continuing analysis as markets continue to adapt in response. The future tastes and preferences still hold uncertain aspects, though the major pressures influencing such a shift and change remain clear across both localized as well as major globally recognized producers based upon recent years. This remains among important aspects when creating reliable forward forecasting. And that, friends, brings us to the end of our fizzy journey through time. We've traveled from medicinal elixirs to modern-day concerns. But what about the lasting impression this iconic beverage has left upon the world? Join us next time for Legacy and Lasting Impression, a final sip. So, we've journeyed through centuries of fizzy history, from medicinal beginnings to global domination, encountering innovations, marketing triumphs, and even facing modern-day challenges. But what's the lasting impact? What remains after all the bubbles have settled? That's the question we'll explore now, as we take one final sip of our history lesson. Let's begin with 7.1, reflecting on soda's enduring appeal. We started with a simple idea, bubbly water. Yet, through ingenuity and shrewd marketing, a simple drink transformed itself into a worldwide phenomenon, deeply entwined with cultural moments and the history of entire generations across numerous continents and locales. Remember those bustling soda fountains? The social gatherings around a cool drink in warmer weather? They represented far more than refreshment alone. They were focal points of countless childhood memories and societal shifts. Soda's association with particular experiences is itself one aspect for its appeal throughout centuries. From baseball games to family picnics to momentous milestones such as holidays, even significant historical dates, those links themselves further contribute toward cementing positive cultural links throughout society. Think about the ingenious advertising campaigns we discussed. Santa Claus, perhaps the best single most remarkable strategy ever conceived among commercials. Even decades after initial production it still holds power even today. These campaigns not only sold a product, they helped build memories. It connected a product to an enduring collective sense of imagination globally. Then remember how Prohibition's pressures drove soda pop to be utilized not solely for fun, for safety concerns surrounding hygiene and sanitation, from access to more traditional drinking water alternatives. This period established a key position as an entirely viable alternate drink with less health risks, providing yet another important boost to its continued popularity despite facing serious commercial pressure, highlighting ingenious solutions for adapting and succeeding across various cultural conditions. Each bottle sold contributed towards weaving a narrative for many cultures globally through various adaptations of both visual methods and product expansion alongside improvements in production practices, further emphasizing the evolution of a product responding both innovatively and shrewdly throughout changing generations. The various responses to changing demographics alone highlighted the immense effort placed throughout numerous eras and changes across production methods despite ongoing change throughout history, and the strategies successfully adapting those into multiple worldwide economies for several generations further emphasized how truly adaptive and successful this product is. Such strategies help form deeply rooted associations within modern societies, highlighting the powerful efforts from clever marketing in shaping global societal perception that still maintain some prevalence even to this day. Now let's turn our attention to 7.2. Final thoughts. Despite increasing criticism over its health implications and environmental effects, soda's global popularity endures. We are facing continued and potentially escalating anxieties and awareness regarding consumer choices based around such drinks given such impacts in the very long term. Considering that modern awareness has only intensified those issues relatively recently across many economies suggests this continues an ongoing struggle, particularly in several major global markets. It is very important that changes towards more ethical choices for corporations and continued adaptations occur to avoid such backlash globally from numerous governments, regulatory boards, and global non-governmental organizations working on reducing various ethical issues impacting ecosystems from waste and other production impacts of the beverage and distribution thereof, showing tremendous levels of engagement across various societies' interest in regulating this very commonplace and highly ubiquitous industry across numerous global marketplaces. It will need significant cooperation among multinational corporations for lasting impact on production methodologies, consumer expectations, distribution processes, ethical production, disposal options, and ongoing reduction in impact on surrounding environments at numerous locations in all areas involved in both producing and consuming this popular and worldwide recognized drink among consumers around the globe. Recent surveys and ongoing economic indicators from different global bodies highlight that globally, consumption numbers may show variation but consistently remain very considerable despite such increasing global concern regarding several inherent ethical and practical issues relating towards consumption patterns, production standards, environmental consequences among both localized and globally acting corporations from those areas, demonstrating an ongoing complex tension of consumer demands alongside increasing environmental and social pressure. That tension still is expected to grow, indicating further innovative change as ongoing efforts to lessen those specific and serious challenges that have been brought up over recent decades will require significant additional change beyond the previous measures which were considered during prior times, which clearly demonstrate far more intense oversight and regulatory concerns towards many industrial sectors among consumers, companies, governmental regulations, and across the entirety of this global sector impacting many businesses among these numerous jurisdictions worldwide across multiple economies and varying global social situations and demographics. Even today, the ubiquity and success that have endured decades are truly noteworthy and worthy of study. This is why we still take a moment here to note both achievements of past efforts alongside continuing need for better choices from moving ahead into the near future. That leaves us at 7.3. An engaging call to action. What are your soda pop memories? Share your stories with us. Did you spend afternoons at the soda fountain? Do you recall certain commercial campaigns, advertisements, or television spots that caught your interest as they were showcased at various moments throughout the prior decades? Were certain regional specific versions memorable or important to you, as specific localities where those brands originated are also important considerations regarding global tastes? This entire discussion showcases considerable aspects that still merit future investigation for additional productions from ourselves, and tell us which brands are worthy of further exploration. Are there emerging niche market players or particular local brands worth studying which weren't able to make it as a global phenomenon in contrast to previously explored options within these markets? Which particular technological innovations, historical event, or sociological development impacted production or overall consumption practices? Many were briefly introduced, though we barely touched the surface among many aspects that might be deemed particularly relevant when we discuss topics regarding their impacts in global regions, on demographics, or on economic shifts at specific points. We have so many interesting options, Suggest brands you'd like to hear more about. Your questions fuel future discussions in similar ways among consumers throughout different areas globally as we learn more in ongoing collaborative effort. Many of the ideas already considered provide considerable impetus among certain demographics to drive forward new initiatives as well. Those specific regions that maintain the most popularity despite these changes might offer additional insights regarding specific details on the various shifts we may not otherwise expect across many local situations, such as how production may shift over longer-term intervals given varying cultural or other localized influences, highlighting tremendous creative output given how such diverse tastes from local populations developed around existing larger globally dominant product lines alongside smaller competitive efforts, showing many kinds of ongoing creative developments from niche products globally, demonstrating far more possibilities exist within a highly common and popular product. Such discussions around potential directions might offer interesting future study regarding product lineups and creative ideas within such an established marketplace, showcasing far more future opportunities exist beyond the products already commercially available as the future looks promising for multiple niches and local producers still working with already successfully established brands, showing many areas which would merit continued research alongside our own production development regarding both audience-specific tastes across demographics, localized niche products, potential improvements to product line design, as well as innovative suggestions that both producers and consumers provide alike given the numerous questions introduced within those regions that we touched on only briefly during our initial investigation into the historical aspects involved. What are some of those things that should receive further consideration, discussion, and indeed ongoing expansion in ongoing production formats to appeal to larger global consumer demands whilst simultaneously addressing local and highly unique culturally relevant features unique to those regions around which it appears this production practice originally began? Thank you. So raise a glass, or a bottle, to the enduring legacy of soda pop, a fizzy tale that's far from over.